Welcome to the Digital Remodeler podcast. I'm so glad you've chosen to join me today. And we're going to be talking about the end of the click. 5 ways that Google's new Agentic search is rewriting the rules of the internet. It's going to be an interesting topic. I've actually spent this entire week going through an online course dealing with Agentic search. In the agency world, we are really moving along with this move towards agentic search. I've been talking a lot about that ever since the interview with Google's CEO in March, talking about the move that Google's going to be making, where Google really is going to turn their search process into an agent management box, is really the way that they are describing the search box. And they began to roll that out here a couple of weeks ago with the flight component of Google search and also the restaurant search. So you can see that in action if you want to go take a look at it. But let's dive into the topic because this is what you're most interested in. So I'm calling this the end of the click. And we're going to look at 5 ways that Google's new agentic search is actually rewriting the rules of the internet. One of the things that was interesting in the conference I was in this week is 5% of the transactions happening online now are actually being transacted by agents. I didn't realize that it was already to that number, so 5%. The other piece that was very intriguing is that the volume of search has really exploded, and this doesn't surprise me because every search being done is really being broken out into multiple searches as the AI breaks down what's behind the actual search query and does multiple searches behind it. So that's something I was very aware of takes place in these AI-driven searches. So let's dive into this. The traditional search engine results page that you're familiar with, the one with all the blue links, is rapidly becoming a relic of a low intelligence era of search. So for the last couple of decades, the search box that you're familiar with served as a static distribution mechanism. So you provided your search query and Google or Yahoo or whatever search engine you were using provided a list of blue links for you to then go and navigate. You did the work. And what's changing is that paradigm is pretty much dead. We are entering the age of what is called agentic search. And that is where Google is no longer a destination you visit, but it is now becoming the orchestration layer that works on your behalf. And it's not just Google. That goes for Perplexity or Claude or ChatGPT or whatever engine you are visiting to get that information. But we're going to talk about Google because Google is still the 900-pound gorilla, and they are still going to be the dominant player when we talk about search because they control so much data, and that's what's going to keep them on top. So in this new reality, the orchestration layer is taking over the destination web. And what Google is evolving into is an agent manager, and that is the way their CEO describes it. Shifting from this instantaneous query response tool to a persistent service that manages long-running, ongoing, multi-layered tasks while you're away. And I described this on my last episode. I talked about even how my search behavior is changing. I have been building out agents over the last 60 plus days in my business. I have multiple agents that are orchestrating in my business. My primary one I call Jeeves. And the easiest way to think about Jeeves, if you watched Iron Man in the Marvel movies, he would be like Jarvis that works with Tony Stark. I'm always asking Jeeves, hey, Jeeves, do this. Hey, Jeeves, work on this. Jeeves, I need this information. He is my central orchestrating agent. He puts a lot of information together for me. He does research. He makes things happen. And he orchestrates the other agents within the organization. So, as we talk about this, here's what you need to understand. Search is no longer a destination. It is becoming an agent manager. And so Google's architectural role is undergoing its most profound shift since the invention of PageRank, which has been their ranking algorithm. And so according to Google CEO Sundar Pichai, search is transitioning to an agent manager or an orchestration layer. And what happens is this layer sits between you, the user, and a swarm of AI agents, managing many threads that are running simultaneously across multiple processes. And so this is a move towards persistent asynchronous workflows. And so in this model, you don't just use search. What you're doing actually is you're delegating to search. And so that's a real shift in thought process. And I want you to get your mind around that. So Pichai gives the illustration to his use of an internal Google agent that they are using at Google called anti-gravity. So instead of manually browsing feedback, he uses the agent to distill the worst 5 things and the best 5 things about a product launch. And so this isn't just finding information, it's the execution of high-level analysis that previously required human hours. And so search would be an agent manager in which you're doing a lot of things. This is something he said in his interview in March. And so I want you to kind of think in terms, again, trying to simplify this, of a personal chef. And in this personal chef model, you're really creating your own private internet. And so this might be an easy way for you to kind of grasp this concept a little better. So the traditional web as we know it was built on a one-to-many model. A website serves the same content to every single visitor. Whereas agentic search is shattering this and turning it into a one-to-one, custom-tailored experience. And so, using an analogy from Cloudflare, the current web is like a restaurant. It has a fixed menu and a kitchen that is optimized for volume. Whereas an AI agent becomes your personal chef. It doesn't follow a fixed path. It requires its own unique execution environment, and the LLM dictates the code path, calls up tools dynamically, and then it persists until the task is complete. Now, again, I'm a child of the 80s, so I have to think in terms of the Terminator. He's not going to quit until he finds Sarah Connor, if you remember the movie. Not going to quit until the task is done. Now, not to get, dark on us here, but that may help you wrap your mind around it. The AI is going to persist until the task is complete. Now, this hyper-personalization transforms the internet into a private service, and that's really what you need to think about. This is your private service taking place. And so when everyone has a personal agent running errands, negotiating your prices, checking real-time inventories, managing logistics, the concept of browsing as we have known it becomes obsolete. And so the agent actually becomes the primary consumer, and the website just becomes a vendor in the background. So what you need to understand is Google is now making your phone calls and your itineraries. And so this shift isn't a prophecy for 2030. It's actually happening now through task-based agentic search. Because Google's already bypassing traditional app switching to handle those real-world interactions directly. There are 3 live features that demonstrate this execution layer in action. There is agentic calling, where you use Gemini and Duplex, and Google's AI mode now calls local stores directly to verify inventory for specific items, and it removes the need for you, the end user, to pick up the phone or even visit the store's website. There is now the Canvas tool that moves beyond simple lists. The Canvas tool in AI mode actually transforms scattered research into cohesive multi-step travel plans. This is what I was talking about on their flight scheduling program, and automatically organizes flights and hotels into a map-based itinerary. And then you have property level price tracking. So search now allows for individual hotel property monitoring, sending real-time email alerts when the prices drop, and it turns the search engine into a persistent watchdog, monitoring on your behalf so you don't have to. And so as you see those things taking place, it removes you ever having to visit the website. And so it takes you out of that process. The agent is now doing that for you. So as search product leader Rose Yao noted, regarding the global expansion of agentic booking, there's no more app switching, no more hassle, just finding the right restaurant and great food. There's also what's called the intelligence overhang, and there's a 2027 inflection point. You're going to hear more about this in the days to come. So despite these capabilities, we're currently in this intelligence overhang, and that's the gap between what the models can do and how organizations are structured to use them. And this overhang is defined by 4 barriers. One of those is prompting skill. The next one is company-specific content. Then there's data access permissions, and then outdated role definitions. And so to bridge this gap, technical research is now moving at high speed. So research papers in April 2026, such as Skillo and CWGRPO, describe agents that internalize skill packages, allowing them to operate without instruction overhead during execution. So they are very autonomous in the way they work. And Pichai, in particular, has identified 2027 as the critical inflection point for this transition. So we internally in our agency have been moving very rapidly because we know 2027 is a huge transition year. So we've been preparing our clients that we've got to move quickly and be prepared to transition quickly because we know Google is going to be transitioning quickly. So by then, agentic workflows will move beyond engineering and be very much moving into business processes like automated financial forecasting. And so we've got to be prepared to adapt to those things as they come online. So for businesses, the innovation curve right now is extremely steep. And businesses have to be ready to pivot quickly. So the traditional 5-year planning window that businesses are used to or have always considered, even Pichai in his interview said Google is now thinking in 1-year increments. And a 5-year planning window is now a form of organizational paralysis. If you're thinking in 5-year and 10-year blocks, you actually are going to find yourself at a disadvantage. So success now requires competitive agility and the ability to pivot quickly in 12-month increments. Here's another thing that's going to alarm many of you that are listening. If you're thinking of your website as a destination, you're going to have to change your thinking, because the death of a website as a destination is quickly coming. For marketers and search engine optimization professionals and business owners alike, this is one of the most provocative realities of the agentic search era. Websites are being turned into raw data sources and service endpoints. And we are moving towards a machine-to-machine economy where it's more likely that an agent and not a human is going to negotiate the web. And with the upcoming release of WordPress 7.0 as a centerpiece of this infrastructure, WordPress 7.0 is designed to be agentic. And it is going to be jam-packed with capabilities for agent-to-agent negotiations. So your website's primary job is going to be to talk to Google's agents, to confirm inventory, to book services, to communicate to a non-human entity. And so the end of the click is truly backed by sobering data. An index exchange analysis reveals that 69% of publishers have already seen declines in ad opportunities. In sectors like health and careers, ad opportunities have plummeted by 40 to 50%. So while some view themselves as fleas on the dog, the reality is that while traffic patterns are changing, Google still fundamentally relies on feeding off the web's content to train its agents. So content is not dead. The web is not dead, but we have to think differently about how we use the web and how we approach deploying our content. So here's what this means for you as a business owner. Here's what this means for those who do your marketing. And I want you to grab hold of this. Number one, structured data is the new code. So schema is not just for rich snippets. It's the essential language for agent-to-agent negotiation. Inventory as an API is critical. So you need to have real-time accuracy in your pricing, your hours, and your stock. It's non-negotiable input for agents that are making autonomous decisions. They have to be able to read your data real-time. And this is the big one. Entity authority. You have to focus on building a very clear brand identity that the agents can verify through third-party integrations and verified business profiles. You cannot sleep on this. Here's the invisible measurement gap. Google's search revenue hit $63.1 billion in late 2025. That's a 17% year-over-year increase. There's a massive tension emerging because Google is successfully monetizing this transition. But the currency of the web as we know it and have known it, the click, is being spent by Google's agents while being hidden from content creators. And there really are no reports in the Search Console to show how many times an AI agent called your store, including your property in a price alert, or utilized your data for a canvas itinerary. So we're in an expansionary period. But the measurement tools right now are still stuck in past measurement metrics. So in a world where an agent is completing the task without the user ever seeing your logo, a click is no longer the primary currency of value. So the question for the next year is pretty simple. How will you prove your worth in a world where the interface has moved from your site to the agent manager? You're going to have to give thought to operating differently than you have for the past 15 or 20 years. If you're still doing SEO the way you did even 5 years ago, you're being left behind. You've got to think differently about your brand, about your methodologies. You cannot market in silos. If you do, you're going to get left behind. You will become invisible. Agentic search is rewriting the rules of online search. If we can help you develop your strategy for the agentic search era, I want to encourage you to do that. And if you've not downloaded my white paper, Silence of the Agents, be sure and email me. The link is in the description, and I'll be happy to send you that white paper. I wrote that after Pichai's interview because I knew that my audience needed to hear just exactly what was coming and needed to begin to rethink their strategy for marketing. As always, thank you for tuning into this episode. And if we can be of assistance to you, schedule a strategy call with me. I would love to take a look at your current ecosystem, your footprint, and help you get positioned to not just survive this change, but to be the dominant player in your market in the days ahead. I look forward to talking with you on the next episode.